Hi all, I'm Shweta Reddy, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering from R.M.K College of Engineering and Technology. So in wireless communication, today in this video, we are going to cover certain topics related to cellular architecture. So first of all, to get started, we will see some basic components and basic definitions of what are the terms which we are going to get involved or which we will be coming across while studying the cellular architecture, and later on we will see the proper architecture of the mobile phones which we are using nowadays, that is your GSM architecture. Now let us go into the topic. So basically, when you consider the very fundamental architecture of a cellular system, it comprises of four components. The first one is the mobile station, the second one is the base station, third one is the mobile switching center MSC, and the fourth one is public switch telephone network PSTN. So now let us see what each and everything does one by one. So coming to the mobile station is nothing but our handheld device, that is which we are having in our hand. That is what we refer to as mobile station, and which it will be moving from one point to another point along with this. And the signal that is generated from the mobile station will be forwarded to the next component, which we call it as base station, BS. And coming to base station, the base stations are nothing but those are the fixed stations which you can see on the ground. That is, they will be mounted on the towers. You can see certain towers on the ground, right? So those parts are what we call it as base station. So base stations are called fixed stations, which is responsible for receiving the signal from the mobile station. And basically, the fixed stations will actually contain the radio channels, that is the total available channels, which will be allotted at the base station, as well as this, which will have transmitter and then the receiver, which is mounted on over a tower. So just to increase the heights of the transmitter antenna and receiver antenna, all the signals that is collected from the base station is now forwarded to the next phase, which we call it as mobile switching center. And coming to this mobile switching center, which is also abbreviated as MSC. So your MSC is responsible for coordinating in the routing of calls. That is, it is responsible for coordinating the routing of calls in a large surface area. So actually, I can call my friend, and my friend can be located at any place on this geographical region. So my call has to be routed to that particular number. So MSC will take the responsibility of routing my calls from exactly to that receiver, and that signal is connected to the MSC, and now it is forwarded to PSTN. Now PSTN is nothing but PSTN is also called as public switch telephone network. So which is the world's collection of interconnected voice oriented public telephone network. So actually the PSTN comprises of all the switched telephone networks around the world. So that is the very basic architecture, that is very basic components that are involved in cellular architecture. And now we will march forward, and then we will see how the cellular architecture actually covers the particular geographical region. So here in this slide, the GSM architecture will cover a particular geographical area like this. So here this is our entire geographical region, and it is further classified into small regions, that is hexagonal shaped regions. As you could see in the figure, I hope this is clear. The entire geographical region is classified into small areas, and you could see that each and every small areas is reserved by a particular base station. And you could also see that the mobile stations which are over here moves in this particular geographical area, which can be considered we can consider it as an any vehicle or people, those who are carrying mobile phones with them, anything. So this is what we call it as base station. Can you see? This is what we call it as base station. And this is what we call it as mobile station. Can you see a vehicle over here? This is what we call it as mobile station. And this particular area, can you see the particular area? And this particular area, which we call it as a cell. I hope this is clear. So what is cell actually is? Cell is a technically, I mean, it is technically defined as any geographical area which is covered by a single base station. So that is called as cell. When in a cell there will be one base station. So this is the reason why we actually call it as a cellular system. So this system will divide bigger geographical regions into small cells, and these cells will be served as a particular base station, and all the signals that are collected from these base stations will be sent or forwarded to an MSC, that is mobile switching center, and this mobile switching center will forward the calls to PSTN. PSTN is nothing but public switch telephone network. I hope in the previous slide we saw that. And where the call in PSTN, the call will be routed and sent to the receiver, that is particular receiver on the other side. So this is how a GSM architecture is used to cover the geographical area. So here in this slide we have covered a very basic architecture, and also we have seen some basic concepts of GSM architecture. We will see a little bit deeper in the next slides. As of now, I hope this is clear. So the detailed view of GSM architecture can be represented like this. So these are all the various components which are present in the entire GSM architecture, and we already know that MS stands for mobile station, which we actually have in our hand, and then it is not always possible for us to install one single base station which covers a very large geographical area. So in order to solve this problem, the large geographical area or cells, which is further classified into small regions, which we call it as sectors, and each and every sector will be taken care of this BTS. So BTS is nothing but the base transceiver station, which is a piece of equipment, that is actually facilitating the wireless communication. That is, it's actually facilitating the wireless communication between the user equipments and the network. The user equipment here is nothing but the mobile station. What we see over here is that, so that it is what actually we call it as BTS, that is base transceiver station. So there will be several BTS which is actually responsible for covering one particular cell, and the signals collected from the every BTS, which will be combined and it will be forwarded to BSC. And your BSC is nothing but base station controller, which is actually receiving the signals from the multiple BTS, and then it monitors many number of base stations and provides interface between the cell sites and the MSC. So this is the main function of this BSC. And next you could see that the signals are collected from several BSC are connected to MSC. And over here in MSC we have three different components. The first one is nothing but HLR. The HLR is nothing but it can be abbreviated as home location register, which is actually a database from a mobile network in which the information from all the mobile subscribers is took. So HLR is usually containing information such as telephone number, the identity of the user, and then the associated services, and also some of the other general informations about the location of the subscriber. So subscriber is nothing but the user over here. So all these kinds of information will be registered in HLR. And the second one is nothing but the MSC. Second component in MSC is nothing but VLR. So VLR is abbreviated as visitor location register. So which is also called as database, which contains the exact location information of all the mobile subscribers currently present in this service area. So this information is actually necessary to route a call. So without this information, I cannot identify where exactly the user is, and without this information I cannot able to route the call to the user. So my VLR will be helping the entire algorithm to trace out where exactly the receiver is, and thereby routing will carry forward, and that's how it will be carry forwarding. And moreover, the next component connected to MSC is AUC. AUC stands for Authentication Center. So the main function of this AUC is to authenticate or validate the respective user. So whenever the user is allotted a particular channel to communicate, and it is responsibility of AUC to keep the data transmitted by the MSC and this BTS encrypted. So the security related perspectives will be taken care of this AUC. And so that is primary function of this AUC, and together the MSC will coordinate with HLR, VLR as well as this AUC. And the other thing which we can come across is OMC. OMC stands for Operation Maintenance Center. OMC is actually used to monitor and to maintain the performance of MS, that is mobile station, base station, and BSC, and as well as MSC. So this is like an overall supervisor section. So this actually supervises the functioning of all previous components whatever we have discussed. So it will supervise MS, BS, BSc, MSc as well. So and finally we have PSTN as well as ISDN. PSTN is what we have already seen, that is PSTN is nothing but public switch telephone network, which actually connects the entire world of wireless networks, and your ISDN is nothing but integrated service digital network, which is actually a communication standard, so which is defined as a standard to communicate voice, video, data, and other network services. And it is we have to find that in a traditional PSTN network. That is the important point. So we will be using this PSTN network to transmit our voice, data, etc. So that is whatever be the type of data we want to transmit, we will be transmitting over a common telephone network, that is PSTN network. So your ISDN defines a standard on how to communicate all these messages over PSTN network. So this is the detailed insight of GSM architecture. I hope this is clear. Thank you all.